Let me start with a sentence that sounds illegal to say out loud. Saving money is making you poorer. Not because saving is bad. Not because you're stupid. Not because you don't have discipline. But because the game you're playing isn't the game your parents played. Today, saving money the traditional way, the way responsible people do it, can quietly destroy your future without you even noticing. And the scariest part, the people suffering the most from this are not careless. They're not reckless gamblers. They're the smartest, most disciplined people in society. People with degrees, good jobs, stable income, a budget, and they still feel stuck. So here's what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to show you the saving trap, the exact reason your savings might be working against you. Then I'll break down the real difference between saving and investing without motivational fluff. And finally, I'll give you a simple system that instantly makes money feel less stressful and more strategic. But before we start, I want you to answer something in your head. If you had to survive on your savings only, with zero income, how many months could you last? 1, 3, 6, a year. Don't overestimate. Just be honest, because that number is going to expose the truth. For decades, we were taught, save money, avoid risk, be safe. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds responsible. But here's the problem. Saving is not a wealth strategy. It's a safety strategy. It doesn't make you richer. It only delays disaster. Let's use a brutal example. If you save $500 per month for 10 years, you saved $60,000. That looks impressive, but here's what your brain forgets. Money loses value every single year. Inflation doesn't need to rob you dramatically. It robs you silently. When inflation is 6%, your money loses 6% buying power in a year. When inflation is 10%, it loses 10%. So imagine this. You work hard, you save, you feel proud, and the system says, nice. Now watch your money shrink. That's the first punch. The second punch is even worse. Most people don't save enough to matter. They save enough to feel responsible. That's an emotional difference, not a financial one. Because saving 2 to 3 months of expenses might give comfort, but it does not create freedom. Freedom doesn't come from money sitting still. Freedom comes from money that grows. And here's where the trap becomes deadly. People start using saving as proof they're doing life correctly. It becomes identity. I'm a saver. I'm disciplined. I'm responsible. And because it's socially praised, they never question if it's working. They just keep doing it, even while the world changes. So let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that when you save more, you don't feel freer, you feel more afraid? Because once you have savings, you start thinking, what if I lose it? That's not wealth. That's psychological prison. And that brings us to the real truth. Saving feels safe, but it doesn't build safety. It builds dependence. Dependence on your job. Because the moment your income stops, your savings becomes a countdown timer. So the real question becomes, how long until panic? Let's make this very clear. Inflation is not prices going up. Inflation is your money becoming weaker. It's a tax on discipline. If you save money in cash for years, you aren't preserving value. You're preserving a number, and numbers can be fake. Example, if you saved $100,000 in cash in 2020 and didn't invest it, you might still have $100,000 today. But can you buy the same life? Same rent, same groceries, same lifestyle, same vacations? No. So you didn't save $100,000. You saved a memory of $100,000. Now let's zoom out. The middle class is obsessed with safety because the middle class has something to lose. The poor have nothing. The rich have systems. The middle class has a job, a routine, a lifestyle, bills, social image, and saving becomes the emotional weapon they use to fight fear. But here's the problem with that. The economy is not stable anymore. Housing is volatile. AI is replacing roles. Cost of living is rising faster than wages. Healthcare costs are brutal. Even stable careers aren't stable. So when people say, save money and be safe, it's like telling someone, carry water in your hands and walk through a desert. They might survive for some distance, but they will never reach the oasis. Because survival isn't the goal. Freedom is the goal, and freedom requires a different system. Now at this point I want to trigger something in your mind. Which one scares you more? A. Risking your money and losing some. B. Never risking your money and losing your life. Most people choose B without realizing it. They die inside slowly, because years pass, but life doesn't upgrade. And that's why saving alone is a trap. Let's fix the confusion. People talk about investing like it's gambling. It's not. Investing is simply putting money into assets that have a high probability of growing over time. Saving is parking money for safety. So think of it like this. Saving equals parking. Investing equals planting. Parking preserves. Planting multiplies. But here's the nuance that experts know. Saving is still essential, but only for specific goals. That's the part nobody teaches properly. So let me give you the real framework. You should save money for 1. Emergency fund, 3 to 6 months expenses. 2. Short-term purchases, next 1 to 3 years. 3. Planned expenses, insurance, taxes, travel, that's it. You save for certainty. You should invest money for 1. Freedom. 2. Retirement. 3. Wealth compounding. 4. Long-term protection from inflation. You invest for growth. Now here's where the middle class commits a fatal mistake. They save long-term money. They treat long-term goals like short-term goals. They save for retirement in cash. They save for future freedom in cash. They save for life in cash. And cash is the worst place for long-term goals, because cash is guaranteed to lose value. So here's the first rule: if you don't need the money for 5+ years, cash is your enemy. Let that sit. And if you're thinking, okay, but what if investing crashes? Good question. A crash is not the enemy. A crash is a discount. The enemy is staying out forever. The enemy is fear-based inactivity. That's what kills your future. Now, to make this more real, I'm going to say something slightly provocative. The market punishes the impatient and rewards the disciplined. But the discipline is different from saving discipline. It's the discipline of consistency, time horizon, emotional control, and that's where real wealth is built. So when we say, stop saving, we don't mean spend everything. We don't mean be reckless. We mean stop blindly saving like it's a religion. Stop treating saving as success. Stop using saving to avoid learning money. Because saving without investing creates a life where you work forever. Let's make it painfully simple. If you save your entire life, the maximum you can do is store value temporarily. If you invest your entire life, the maximum you can do is create freedom permanently. And your money needs to do one of two things. Either you keep working for money, or money starts working for you. There is no third option. Now, there's a psychological reason people avoid investing. It's not lack of information. It's not low income. It's this: investing forces you to accept uncertainty. Saving feels clean and controlled. Investing feels messy, because investing introduces fluctuation. But fluctuation is not danger, it's the cost of growth. The most dangerous financial decision isn't investing. It's staying financially illiterate, because the world doesn't forgive ignorance. It charges interest on it. Now I want to ask you something that will make your viewers comment automatically. What is your biggest fear with investing? Be honest. 1. I'll lose money. 2. I don't understand it. 3. I'll start late. 4. I'll panic sell. 5. I don't trust the system. Just mentally pick one, because whichever one you picked, that's exactly what your financial strategy must address. Not your income, not your job, your psychology. Now let's end this with a system that wealthy people follow, even if they don't know they're following it. This will make your audience feel, I finally get it. Here's the 4-bucket framework. Bucket 1, survival savings, 3 to 6 months expenses. High yield savings account, never touch unless emergency. Bucket 2, short-term cash. Next 1 to 3 years needs. Rent deposits, travel, car down payment. This money doesn't get invested. Bucket 3, long-term investing. Index funds, ETFs, retirement accounts. Auto invest monthly, no emotions. Bucket 4, skill plus income expansion. Courses, tools, business experiments. This is where you increase earning power. This is the shift. Stop asking, how can I save more? Start asking, how can I build systems that compound? Because saving is linear, compounding is exponential. And once you understand exponential growth, you'll never look at money the same way again. Most people will spend their entire life trying to feel safe. But safety isn't created by cash. It's created by systems. And if you're saving money without structure, if you're treating saving like success, you might be doing the most responsible thing in the most outdated way. In the next video, I'm going to expose something even more uncomfortable: how being a saver can become an identity trap, and why smart people stay poor because of it. And I'll show the exact mindset shift that changes everything. Until then, remember, if your money isn't compounding, it's decaying.